These are the Commander cards most worth buying for the month of August.
I'm Mia, and I like drinking tons of water.
I'm BZ, and I like staying hydrated as well. This is the Nitpicking Nerds, and we are sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Mia, what's the code to save 5% at checkout?
I think it's nerds.
I think it is too, and you can go there and save actual tangible dollars. Dragon Shield, they got the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
So go buy some shields from the source, sleeve up your deck, make it look amazing, and support the channel at the same time.
We're also sponsored by Moxfield.com, the best place to build a deck online. There's going to be an ad for Moxfield somewhere in this video. You can guess where it is, but if you said you got it right, you're lying and cheating, and we don't like that here.
Yes, and happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today. These are the cards we think are most worth buying right now. We scoured the internet, we checked, and these cards are super duper worth their price. We're not talking about speculation. We're not talking about buying out the market and making $1 million. We're talking about you got some money laying around. These are really good buys for your Commander decks right now.
If we are asking, would we buy them at this price, and all of these, we definitely would. The first one is Crystalline Crawler for $10, a 4-mana 1/1, and it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. If you tap it, you can add a counter. If you remove a counter, you can add mana of any one color.
Yeah, it's super, super good for like your +1/+1 counters decks. Obviously, it might have some fringe homes, but I'm really talking about like +1/+1 counters. I think it's a staple, and this could be the difference between you making a few good plays on your turn and then passing and hoping to untap versus you just start going off, maybe even go infinite and just cast like everything in your hand.
I love the fact that when you remove a counter, you can add mana of any one color, considering it's fixing for any deck that needs it.
Yeah, if you're like a Wooburg deck, this can tie some of your mana together and help out. I think just when you start going like Hardened Scales and Branching Evolution and even things like Thundering Nightmare to Soulbond with this, you just start piling up these counters, and then you have so much mana, you don't even know what to do with it. And if you're drawing cards with, obviously there's a bunch of card draw cards, you know, Armorcraft Judge, Inspiring something, it's on screen. They all draw cards, and you could just start comboing off with just Crystalline Crawler.
Yeah, the fact that you don't have to tap it to remove a counter too is super nice. So if you have 10 stacked on there, you can just remove a bunch and get the mana you need for the next spell.
Yeah, and you can just use it right away. Super, super strong. Let's go to Vanquish the Horde. $4, 6 white, destroy all creatures, but it costs 1 less for each creature in play.
I've cast this a bunch of times, and it's almost always just white to destroy all creatures.
Yeah, seriously, if you're not playing this card yet, this is one of the best white board wipes. I don't know if it's better than Farewell, but it's absolutely better than Day of Judgment, Wrath of God, throw in Austere Command, any 5-mana board wipe at all. This card is super inexpensive, like 2 mana to wipe the board. This is on par with like Toxic Deluge and Blasphemous Act in terms of efficiency.
Super inexpensive in mana cost and dollars. $4? That's easy.
Yeah, $4 for like one of the best board wipes. I will take that all day. What is the next one?
Archon of Cruelty for $12 for 6 black. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent loses 3 life, discards 1 card, sacks a creature, and you draw and gain 3 life. This is one of the reanimation targets BZ has in his Oscar deck, and it is brutal.
It's one of the go-to reanimation targets, I think, in a lot of different formats now. It's a ton of value, and this card particularly, it doesn't end the game immediately like something like Razaketh or Villas might lead to. So I think it's like the perfect mid to high power card where it's still going to be backbreaking, it's still going to be powerful, you're going to win the game if it stays in play, but it's not an instant win, and I love it for $12. It's starting to get affordable.
I mean, that's so much value on one body, and the fact that you know you're just going to keep killing it and bringing it back and cheating it out, that those card discards and 3 life stack up over time.
Yeah, and if you give it haste, you're in Value City. Another thing that people don't necessarily notice about this card is that I can attack Mia with this card and have somebody else discard and sacrifice. So you really just get the best of all scenarios.
Yeah, pick the best opponent for your situation.
Yeah, Silverback Elder. It's a $6 card. It's 2 green for a 5/7. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you either destroy an artifact or enchantment, look at the top 5 for a land to put in play, or you gain 4 life. Gaining 4 life, only there if you're desperate. But the other 2 modes, pretty solid at most points in the game. It's kind of like an Aura Shards that's just going to sit and play as a chunky blocker and just pay you off for casting these creature spells.
This is actually one of the only non-elf creatures I have in my elf deck, considering the value that it provides. I bought it at $9, and it was still even good then. But if you have a deck with a bunch of cheap creatures like Mana Dorks, you just put this down and then throw all of those on the field, and you could wipe all of somebody's mana rocks or something if you want to.
Yeah, and if you ramp this out early, you can play it on turn 4. You know, that's pretty safe assumption. You can ramp once and then play this on turn 4. And then next turn, like double creature, go get 2 lands, and you're just way ahead. And even if they kill Silverback Elder, you've got permanent advantage.
Absolutely. Phyrexian Metamorph for $7 is next. 3 and a blue, which you can also pay with Phyrexian blue, so 2 life. When you cast it, it enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature or artifact, but it is an artifact in addition to whatever types that you're copying. I love this in my weird copy decks, but you could slot this in any deck that really runs blue, considering 3 and 2 life is almost nothing to pay for the best artifact or creature on the field. Like, I've copied Soul Ring with this. I've copied like the biggest creature on the field. It's good no matter when you play it.
It scales with the game. It's very easy to cast. 3 mana, basically. We're always going to pay 2 life unless we're desperate, but even then you can pay. It's still a castable card. I don't really like 4 mana clones. I'm really not about it. Maybe Clever Impersonator is the exception, but like 4 mana copy a creature, I think is just a little bit below where you want to be. So this is 1 less mana, and it copies like the second most prominent permanent type in artifacts. So you're always going to have targets. You can target your own things. Well, it doesn't target, but you can choose your own things, choose opponents' things. I want to get back to playing more Metamorphs. I think people started playing less clones because they're just kind of meh. Like, they're not super exciting and they want to put more cool cards in, but clones are powerful for sure.
I don't know. I actually find that so exciting because it's like the mystery of, ooh, what am I going to copy this game? Because I'm almost never copying something on my board unless I really need mana or something, and I'm like, all right, mana rock, copy the mana rock, and then tap out. Like,
you want to copy your opponent's stuff? I mean, presumably my stuff will be better. I'd rather have 2 of my stuff, but sometimes your opponents play better cards than you.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's fun because
it's fun to copy their stuff.
So usually I slot this in the decks that I could have a little wiggle room to have fun, and it's like, ooh, maybe I like that for today. I want that enter the battlefield trigger. Sure.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's versatile, and you could play it very spiky, too. The Black Gate is a $10 land. As it enters, you can pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. It taps for a black mana, and you can pay 1 and a black and tap it to choose a player with the most life or tied for the most life, and target creature can't be blocked by creatures that player controls this turn. What I actually am super psyched about is it's a black land that can enter the battlefield untapped, and it has more words on it. This is great. It just kind of looks like, to me, virtually an auto-include in every 1 and 2 color black deck.
Yeah, I can't see why you wouldn't put this in a mono black deck or 2 color deck unless you were worried about price or something. But I think that since it comes in untapped and you have that choice, it's so versatile.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're going to be stingy on your mana base because of Cabal Coffers, but aside from that, every other black mana base, I think this goes just right in. Just take out a swamp for it. It enters untapped most of the time. Play it turn 1 tapped if you don't have anything better to do, so it's not like you always take 3 damage. And this is just I think it's a better Rogue's Passage, assuming the player with the most life is who you want to attack. So, it's much cheaper to activate. You don't get the choice of who can't block your creature, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's worth the payoff. I think that when Lord of the Rings came out, I kind of slept on this card a little because we were all hyped for the One Ring. But looking back, this is so good.
Don't sleep on this one. Also, it's a gate. So if you have Nine Fingers Keen or I don't know, some other Maze's End Commander, this is another gate you can play to help with that victory. What is next?
Next is Keeper of Secrets for $3, 5 and a red for a 6/4, first strike, haste, and when you cast a spell from anywhere but your hand, it deals damage equal to the spell's mana value to a target opponent.
This thing is nasty. Keeper of Secrets, a little specific, but in the homes that it wants to be in, it's probably one of the best cards in your deck. It's kind of how you close games. We're talking Cascade, even Madness, casting spells from your graveyard with Flashback, or just casting your commander. This pairs really, really well with Dargo the Shipwrecker. If you can sacrifice Dargo, you could just keep casting him for 1 mana and chucking 7 damage at people.
Yeah, I could see this in Prosper decks too, or anything with the Exile the Top 2 effect. This, I think, has more homes than most people would think, considering with red, there are so many of the Exile the Top 2, you can play those until the next turn effect.
Maybe you're just playing some in your deck. This card, do not sleep on it. Man, $3, I feel like it's getting disrespected. Totally worth $3. I might just buy 2 because I probably end up playing them in something.
I want to see it. I don't think I've seen it yet in Dargo Kydel, but I do want to see it because it looks so good. That looks like the perfect home.
In my Cascade deck, it is dirty. Moving on, Archivist of Ogma, $6. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 flash. When your opponents search their libraries, you get to draw a card and gain a life. We were super hyped about this for Baldur's Gate, and I just want you to know that it has really not gotten much more expensive. And if you were waiting to pick one up, get one now. This card doesn't ask anything of you. It's kind of a card you can just put in any white deck, and as your opponents get more competitive and are searching more or are ramping more, this just scales amazingly.
I'm actually surprised to see it this low, considering I did see CEDH and higher powers talking about it, and it was like $9 to $12 for the longest time, considering it doesn't ask anything of you. It just asks that your opponents are drawing or searching their libraries.
Yeah, this can be better than Opposition Agent. What Opposition Agent really says is your opponents can't search. Like, you're going to gotcha, you get somebody right away when you flash it in, but then they're just not going to search after that. But with Archivist, they're going to just continue their game plan, and they're going to say, draw a card? Yeah, whatever. I need to cast my Explosive Vegetation. So they're going to cast it, and you just get to start accumulating cards over and over, and it's like this death by 1,000 cuts that people don't realize until it's too late.
I actually really like this too because it scales better to lower power games because, I actually had one game once where Op Agent was played against Terramorphic Expanse because there weren't any other searches in the game. And so, you don't want to search for that. But with Archivist, if you're just searching for a land, you're still getting that draw one, game one, regardless of whether it's Demonic Tutor or Terramorphic.
Yeah, because flashing in an Opposition Agent to stop a fetch land, that's pretty whatever. But flashing in an Archivist, I'll take a card. Yeah, I'd rather just have a card. Exploration, $8 now. That is something I never thought I would say. Green for an enchantment, you can play an extra land on your turn. This used to be like $40.
It did? I never realized.
Yeah, it was premium for the longest time. Then it got 3 reprints in a row. I think Dominaria Remastered finally brought it down to single digits. $8 is so worth it for this because I was paying $20 and not feeling bad.
Yeah, I would definitely pay $8 for this. I'm not sure if I have a home for this, but playing extra lands, lands are so, I'm not going to say super untouchable, but they are the most...
They're sacred.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like there's a social contract to not touch lands for the most part.
So this is how you ramp ahead, cheese the system, end up with 14 lands in play, and being able to constantly deploy threats while your opponents are still on 6, 7, 8 lands. Exploration, also secret sleeper in a Enchantress deck. I really like this in Enchantment Matters decks because you end up cantripping all your spells, but when you cantrip everything, you get stuck with the cards that don't cantrip, which are lands, and being able to play extra ones of those just lets you turbo out some bonkers starts.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. I didn't think of it like that.
It's real good in enchantment, so definitely check it out if you have not so far. Can you think of what else they should check out? Maybe the next card, or I don't know.
Moxfield.com, actually? The best place to build a deck online?
Yeah, you can build your enchantment deck on Moxfield. Check the price of it through whatever your seller you prefer. You can change the seller. You can change the condition. You can change the rare, the printings of the card. You can mix and match everything you want, and apparently this is the motion. Like I'm solving a Rubik's Cube. That's the Moxfield secret handshake. You can customize your deck viewing experience. You can grid view. You can list view. It's really, wow, it just caters to everyone. No matter what type of deck builder you are, this is going to make it easier.
And if you don't want to build your own enchantment deck online, you could check out a bunch of other brewers, such as Beezy's deck for Imperial Archangel, which is revolved around enchantments. There's so many decks to check out, and our accounts there with all of our decks. So go check it out. Go try Moxfield for yourself. There's so many cool features. I think we're still discovering them every time we go on.
I'm still learning, and we're still moving on. We got more cards. Reanimate, $11. Black for a sorcery. You bring a creature back from a graveyard to the battlefield, any graveyard, mind you, and you lose life equal to its mana value. We have a lot of life in Commander. They gave us 40 to start with, so I'm okay losing anywhere from 1 to 8 as long as I'm getting the best dead creature. It's a build around in that you can't really throw it into any deck and expect a ton of payoff for it, but if you're in a self-mill, discard, empty your library, put it in the graveyard type deck, this is one of the best ways to get creatures out of there.
I mean, reanimation targets, it's coming from this card, the namesake anyways.
Reanimate is named after reanimate. It's a whole verb.
Yeah, so the fact that the decks that this is in, it really shines. I feel so good when I, put Villas into the graveyard and then use Reanimate and just bring him back for 8 life and then draw 8 cards.
Yeah, it does work that way. Reanimate enables some very, very powerful stuff, and if you were waiting on buying it, it doesn't really get much better than this, $11.
Yeah, it's so good. For 1 mana, you can definitely put this into your deck. You can find a home for it.
And we can find a home for what's next.
Scepter of Eternal Glory for $6. For 4 mana, you can put down this artifact, and if you tap it, you can add 1 of any color. But if you tap it and you have 3 lands of the same name, it taps for 3 of any color. This was only printed in the Warhammer Precon, the Black Necron one. And it's just one of the best, it's maybe the best mana rock for monocolored decks out there. It's so good.
Yeah, excluding Sol Ring. Maybe the best colored one. It's an improvement over Thran Dynamo. Thran Dynamo, I think, is for me, constantly teetering on the edge of whether I want to play it or not. And I think if you start giving me colored mana, it looks a lot more appealing. So I want to try this. And the other thing about this card being in the Warhammer Precons, could you ever imagine any of those Warhammer cards getting reprinted anytime soon? I could worry about that a little bit. So with this one, I would worry about it going up in price like over the next year or so, and maybe eventually doubling when I could just get it now for $6.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like 4 mana might be a lot for a mana rock, and that's what I thought when I first saw this too. But I've had it played against me a few times in like mono red decks where they just want all that mana to put counters on, like stuff. My friend plays in an Ashling deck, and it's always nasty. I'm always so surprised at how effective it is.
Yeah, don't think of it like some kind of 4 mana, waste your whole turn. If you untap with 5 lands and then you play Scepter of Eternal Glory, you still have 4 mana. You only lost 1. This thing pays itself back as soon as you untap with it again. Like, it's pretty solid. I gotta try this. I was sleeping on it, and I think I gotta get back into the motion.
Yeah, I actually need to build a monocolor deck, and
because you don't have any.
That is correct. I don't have any. So when I do, this is going right in it.
And I gotta let you read this next one because it's one of your favorites.
Blind Obedience, 1 and a white for an enchantment that says artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter tapped, but it also has extort on it. So it's a little bit of life loss and life gain if you pay white or black mana when you cast spells, and it's actually one of my favorite cards.
Yeah, it's $5, and you love the fact that this card for 2 mana gives you so many verbal opportunities to say, that's tapped. It's tapped. That should be tapped, and we'll just reach over and turn that sideways.
Okay, that's not the reason I love this card.
Physical value.
I'm not you doing your, but no takesies backsies, moral victory deck. Yeah. I'm not like that. However, it's really, really nice when all of your opponents have treasures coming in and they can't use them immediately.
That happens a lot, actually.
It really does. The Soul Ring can't be used immediately. Hasty creatures completely negated.
Some commanders really are relying on the fact that they're going to have haste or be able to activate or something the turn they come down. And when you can't, it actually totally shuts them down and slows them down by 1 or 2 turns where they're just like, well, I don't want to deploy this, so I have to pass and not play it because if I play it, I'll be tapped out and someone will attack me, so I have to play some other spell. But then they're not playing the creature, and you're just getting all this in hidden value, and it just slowly can tick people off. I mean, I guess it might make them mad, but I meant tick down their life totals one at a time as you spend extra mana that you weren't going to use anyway.
Yeah, I also really, really like it because it doesn't always demand an answer. I've had this sit on the field for 6 or 7 turns, and everyone's like, well, there's this sort of over here, or I don't want to use this because what if they play a Rhystic Study or something, and it just sits there, and I'm just getting, those extra little, bits of time where I can activate things or attack because the things are coming in tapped, and oftentimes it's just that's not good enough to remove, but it's so good to put in your deck.
It's so sticky. That is exactly how it happens every time. I put this card in multiple decks, and that's what people do. And I think it's fair of them to do that. I'm not even saying people are misplaying, but it's always teetering on the edge of well, someone just played a really good creature, and then there's this blindo, I'm really worried about this creature. I think it might be more pressing because Blind Obedience just slows you down. It doesn't stop anything. It doesn't hurt you that much at a time. So they always pick the other thing, and I am happy with that.
Yeah, it's always good to put down, in my opinion, and it feels so good when someone plays the dockside. You go, tapped treasures.
Tapped treasures. See you next turn. I'm going to Vandal Blast those. Maybe you won't because you don't play Vandal Blast, but I will Vandal Blast them. All right, this next card is probably... Let me do some math. It's probably one of the 5 best cards in Commander, and you can get it for $23 to $25. It is Necropotence, black for an enchantment. Skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile it from your graveyard. But the real gravy is pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down. At the beginning of your end step, put all cards exiled with Necropotence into your hand. Once Necropotence lands, there is nothing to stop you from drawing cards. They could... aside from Split Second. They're going to play Naturalize on it. They try to destroy it. You can respond, pay 8 life. Those cards still go face down, and they still come to your hand at the end step, even if Necropotence isn't around.
I didn't realize how amazing this card was. I know it's so many CEDH decks and that sort of thing, but playing it with myself for the first time a few games ago, I was like, wow, this is busted. I paid 20 life. My hand's just stacked.
It's just unstoppable.
Yeah, and I really love the fact that it's cheaper now because of the Secret Lair reprint, and that has such cool art, and before it was $30 and bringing it down from 23 to 25. This is such a good staple in Commander.
Yeah, I think it's 23 for the regular like Iconic Masters one, and then 25 for the Secret Lair one, or it might be reversed. Either way, that's quite the steal for what is literally one of the best cards in the format. Probably behind like Gaia's Cradle, Soul Ring, and Mana Crypt, right?
Yeah, you get so much card advantage for life, and we start with 40, so of course we're going to use it.
Yes, very, very strong. I mean, this is a card people don't play in certain powers or certain metas, so make sure your meta can support it. But if you're waiting on this one, it's real good.
We have Aura Shards coming up next for $5. 1 green white for enchantment that says when creatures enter the battlefield, you can destroy artifacts or enchantments. This is just so nasty in certain decks. I've seen this in a Sithis deck. It's just like, okay, nothing can stick, and it just accrues so much value. And for 3 mana, that's like basically that's easy.
Yeah, it doesn't say that you must destroy something, so you don't ever have to target your own things. There's no risk to this. $5 is virtually nothing when this card used to be $12, and I would have told you at $12 that it was worth buying. So imagine the steal you're looking at right now. It's like I'm trying to make commission on this. Aura Shards will dominate. It'll shut down artifact and enchantment decks. And like the Silverback, it has that like continuous advantage thing that like they have to destroy or they can't overcome it. But this one's not a creature and it's cheaper. So it takes the best mode, reduces it by 2 mana, makes it easier to cast, and then says it doesn't die to board wipes. You have to actually spot remove this.
I love the fact that it's May also, so you can make little deals with your opponents. Like, I won't destroy your thing if you do this.
Right, I'll destroy their other thing, their signet, and then they just go, why am I signet? And you go, sorry, politics.
Yeah, or a threat. If you don't do this, I will destroy your thing.
Ooh, yeah, it's like I got a flash creature in my hand. I'm going to get you.
I can make a token at instant speed. Watch out.
Yeah, so as you know, the Battle Bond enemy lands were reprinted in Commander Masters, and we will talk about Commander Masters cards a lot more in, what is the next month? September's most worth buying. But for now, I would say that the allied Battle Bond lands are super worth playing. Sea of Clouds, $4, Morphic Pool, $9, Luxury Suite is $6, Spire Gardens is $5, and Bountiful Promenade is $5. These are some of the best dual lands in the format, and we're talking single digits for all of them.
I mean, these are basically dual lands. If the only thing is you can't fetch them in Commander. They're just coming in untapped and taps for 2 of your colors. They're great.
They're staples. They are, I would say, 100% auto includes in almost any power level from 2 colors all the way up to 3 colors, and then you might play 1 or 2 of them in a 4-color deck, depending on what your most popular colors are. But these are just cards that you can kind of like buy 2 copies of each of them and know that you're going to use all of them a year from now. And just have like, it's not that much money.
Definitely. They go into any Commander deck that can support them because you're always going to have 2 or more opponents. I mean, unless someone scoops because you played a Battle Bond land, and I would love to see that.
I'm all for that. Please scoop.
But no, I definitely have a bunch of these from Baldur's Gate lying around, and they are always going to have homes or they're good trade values because they're just going to keep their value.
Yeah, and if you're like upgrading a deck slowly and you come across like $20 and you're like a 3-color Esper deck, go get Morphic Pool and Sea of Clouds for $13, and then you have 7 left over.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot less than 1 OG duel, right?
Yeah, it's a big upgrade to your mana base. And if you're looking for more big upgrades, August isn't even the only month this year. There was a whole month last month, and it was July, and we talked about the cards most worth buying in that month. I would say you would be missing out if you didn't check it. So there's your FOMO. You got to go watch it. And remember, FOMO is dangerous.